Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Diz, a show that gives you everything you need to know to help make your Disney vacation as magical as can be in just about 20 minutes. I'm your host, Jeff Coviello. With me each week is Disney Master Sandy from Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services. Sandy, how you doing this week?
I am doing great, and I am so excited for tonight's show.
Tonight is an interesting show for us because we got a chance to get a look at a book called Marty, Mickey, and Me by author Chuck Schmidt, and Chuck joins us tonight. It is a great inside look at Chuck's relationship with Disney legend Marty Sklar, and we're really excited to speak to him tonight. So Chuck, welcome to Let's Talk Diz.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
And writing about Marty is, such an incredible person to talk about. He was a great loss to the Disney community. Those of you that have followed the shows for years, we've mentioned Marty various times throughout, and it's so nice to have a book solely focused on him. So, Chuck, why don't you give us a little bit of background on you, kind of where your career path took you as it relates to Disney to kind of bring us to how we got to today?
I started my journalism career at the age of 17. I worked my way up to become the assistant night sports editor, and then it became the night sports editor. And in 1984, I became the Sunday news editor and the travel editor. And when I became the travel editor, I was allowed to do features on just about anything I wanted to. And a place called Walt Disney World had been opened by then. And my family and I went down there a few times, and I decided to start writing features about Walt Disney World.
Over the years, I've had opportunities, and with things that didn't exist back in the day when you were doing them now, things like D23 and other fan events that Disney puts on, we have an opportunity, because I think some of us Disney files, as I consider myself, just can't get enough of opportunities to meet and hear stories from some of the greats. I know next to Bob Gurr, who's still with us, and you can find him at Disneyland most weekends and for any event on either coast usually. I consider Marty to really be an Imagineer for the people. He's somebody who always took time with fans. He was actually at the Festival of the Arts just a couple of years before he passed, doing seminars, and when it ended, he would speak to a whole room, but then one-on-one he would talk with anybody who went up after and wanted to share a story and take a photo. So I can imagine in all of your years and gearing up to do this book that you finally did, can you recall your first meeting with Marty and what that interaction was like?
Yeah, it's actually a very funny story. I was invited to the press event that opened Mickey's PhilharMagic in 2003. And my wife and I were milling around in the waiting area. And out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Marty off on the side. Like I said, Disney often invited many, not necessarily superstars, but people that were well known in the entertainment industry. And that night, they had several members of the Brady Bunch there: Florence Henderson, Barry Williams, and all of the media members were making their way over to the Bradys, because they wanted to talk to them and get to know them before the show started. And once I saw Marty, I was like, I have to go see Marty. I have to go, see what he has to say and just say hello. Before I got to him, the doors opened and everybody was asked to file inside the theater. And my wife and I managed to worm our way right next to Marty. That was my first meeting with Marty. I've referred to him many times as a conduit to Walt Disney himself. He wrote Walt's speeches. He followed him around, writing down, taking notes, and that's how he developed Mickey's 10 Commandments, which that was one of his many trademarks, if you will.
And that's a perfect segue. I was going to say to you, Marty is certainly iconic and known by many, and known for his own two books about Disney, the Dream It, Do It, his half-century creating the Magic Kingdom, and it followed up with his book, One Little Spark, that's all about Mickey's 10 Commandments and the road to Imagineering. Just before he passed, actually, he did a pretty lengthy interview with the legendary Leslie Iwerks as she worked on the Walt Disney Imagineering story, which for those of you who have not seen it, it is an incredible piece. So knowing that he's got that icon standing and he's put himself out in the public, what was your inspiration to add to his story and share your version of Marty with the public?
He and I communicated on many, many occasions. I kind of followed him around the country, going to his book signings. We went out to dinner once. We went out to lunch twice together. So he and I, shared a lot of experiences over the years, and the emails he shared with me were often, not general knowledge, and I basically just squirreled them away in my computer. I had one of the gentlemen at the paper give me a CD-ROM of all my conversations with him over the years because I had recorded them all. Somewhere in 2016, I said to myself, you have a lot of good stories here and a lot of things that I think people would be interested in, because I know Marty had a huge following. Hundreds and hundreds of people would go to his book signings. So I kind of kicked around the idea of putting together a book about my experiences, my friendship with Marty Sklar. But then he passed away in 2017. And I was kind of, what do I do now with this stuff? And I kind of just put it on a back burner, and it sat there for years. Last year in February, I had knee replacement surgery, and basically sitting around doing nothing and going on my computer and looking at what I had written so far on Marty. And I said, why don't you just finish it at this point? It's a lot of good stuff, a lot of good stories. And that's when I decided to, get the ball rolling again on the book. I decided I would go to Leslie Sklar, his daughter, and I had become relatively friendly with her. After Marty's passing, I would send her an email around the time of his birthday every year, just to acknowledge him and, wish her well and her family well. Unfortunately, last summer, Leslie passed away. So I was now kind of, what do I do now? What do I do now? A gentleman who wrote the foreword for the book, Kevin Rafferty, has become a second Marty to me. I call him that, and he gets a kick out of that, because he's kind of the same type of person, just a wonderful, wonderful human being, and kind and friendly, and he'll do anything for you. And I went to him, and seeking his advice and seeking his guidance on the book, and he was all for it. He loved the idea. I sent him a few rough drafts, and he was thrilled. And of course, like Marty used to do with me, he would offer a suggestion here and there, and just to make it better, make it more complete. And end result is you have Marty, Mickey, and me. It's as I said in the subtitle, it's celebrating my friendship with Disney legend Marty Sklar. There's a lot of great photos in the book that Marty gave me, and his daughter and his wife Leah gave me over the years, which I used. There's also a photo of me dressed in my Davy Crockett outfit from the 1950s, which I thought was kind of a hoot.
You mentioned them tonight, Chuck, and the book, it shares some really wonderful, as you put it in the book, electronic pen pal moments between you and Marty, right? The exchanges back and forth. And they really go a long way for me as the reader, somebody who didn't get a chance to meet Marty. It really paints him as a selfless and giving mentor, right? And
yeah,
the accounts
he was.
And the accounts that you share from other people, really kind of back that up. So I guess my question is, when you have somebody like that in your life, if you had to boil down to one or two pieces of advice or sentiments that Marty shared with you that really kind of hang with you today, do you have one or two that kind of continues to ring in your ear?
Well, Marty was a big proponent of teamwork. He always stressed working together, working toward the common goal of finishing a project. He was just a person who, because he grew up with Walt, I guess he understood that, like the only name on the door is Walt Disney. Everybody else, has to live up to his, his excellence.
Sure.
He also, he was famous for his blank sheet of paper philosophy. He said that, you having a blank sheet of paper is a huge challenge because you have to put something down on it, but it's also the greatest challenge because you get to put something down on it.
Right. Don't be afraid of it. Right.
And don't be afraid of that. Yeah. Yeah. Marty was also a big proponent of diversity and sharing different points of view. He always, from the people I spoke to who worked with him, he would always listen to you and always take, your advisement, your suggestions under advisement. So yeah, those are things that stick out with Marty. Another thing too, that, like he was a tremendous family man. He loved his wife dearly. He loved his children dearly. He loved his grandchildren dearly. There was one chapter in the book where he literally traveled around the globe to different. He went to Shanghai Disneyland's opening. He came back to Los Angeles where he lived. He flew up to Seattle to go to the Pacific Northwest Mouse Meet. He flew from there to London, where he would go. Where he went to his grandson's graduation from Canterbury, and then flew back home. So it was just he would go to great lengths, to celebrate his family.
Yeah, he couldn't play tennis anymore, but he could travel all over the world to acknowledge his family, as you said in the book, which is good.
Yep.
You mentioned Ryan March at the end of the book. As somebody that's a DVC member, I get to read Ryan a couple times a year, in the Disney Vacation Club magazine that he puts out. And you also mentioned that you shared a meal, right? One of those meals was with Ryan and Marty at the now reimagined space that was the Wave in Disney's Contemporary Resort. And after Marty's passing, you reached out to, like I said before, a number of people, and Ryan was one of them. And he provided some perspective on what Marty meant to him. And since he and I are of the same generation, I found that his words resonated with me because he mentioned Roy E. Disney, he mentioned Richard Sherman, and he mentioned Marty. And he talks about those guys. They're the connection, right? You mentioned it tonight, the conduit to Walt and all the work that Walt did that has impacted all of us. It's why we're having this conversation tonight, right? So
yeah,
the question that I have for you, right, not only was it somebody that you leaned on as a mentor and this ever overflowing font of information, with Marty gone, do you see anybody in the company, maybe in an active role or even as an ambassador, that's taken on the torch from Marty, in one way or the other?
Well, certainly Bob Gurr was there on opening day at Disneyland.
Sure.
He was the man who designed the Autopia cars, and then designed, as he said, just about anything that moves on wheels in Disneyland. He was the designer of that. So he worked hand in hand with Walt Disney until Walt passed. He was chiefly responsible for the audio animatronics that was so successful at the New York World's Fair, and then became a park staple over the years. So he's just a wonderful guy to talk to. He just is so knowledgeable and just so thorough in all he does.
Well, I'm thankful for folks like Bob, obviously for folks like Marty.
And I'm thankful for you that you had this opportunity to have this great relationship with him and pen the book. It's available for purchase on Amazon, right? The Amazon is the best place for people to go. It's put out by Theme Park Press. Marty, Mickey, and me, the author, as we've been speaking to tonight again, Chuck Schmidt. Chuck, anything else you want to leave folks with before we say goodnight?
I just wanted to add that Marty actually wrote 3 books. His last, Travels with Figment, he had written about 3/4 of it before he passed away. and his daughter Leslie and his wife Leah, kind of, as I said in the book, they were like track runners. They picked up the baton and they brought it across the finish line.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time tonight. Sandy, I appreciate you taking the time tonight, as always, and I wish you both a magical evening.
Thank you. And thank you again, Chuck. There is just something about Imagineering and our legacy Imagineers that we can never get enough of. So it is great to hear some extra stories. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
And that's a wrap this week on Let's Talk Diz. If anyone you know could benefit from this or any show, please share, have them like, and subscribe. And don't forget to reach out to the folks at Easy Diz by Incident Persons Travel Services for any Disney destination planning. Make it a great week, and as always, keep making memories.